Welcome back to the Making Madness YouTube channel. This is Jonathan here to break down the news as Geo Baker has announced that he is returning to Rutgers for a senior season, a super senior season, whatever we're going to call it. But certainly absolutely big news for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. This is a team that lost some pieces. They lost Jacob Young. They lost Montez Mathis. They lost Eugene Umarari a couple seasons ago, but they also lost Miles Johnson. They're still waiting upon Ron Harper Jr. As of this moment. I believe he will be back. We will do a YouTube breakdown of it, but just for now, Geo Baker is back, and for Rutgers, this is huge because Baker, with Jacob Young gone, if Jacob Young would decide to return, maybe this is a little different, but Geo Baker is the only, true point guard. He's the only guy I would say I want to, trust putting the ball in his hands. They add in a 3-star recruit, Jalen Miller, who could at some point become, a guy you can put the ball in your hands and run offense, but, he's probably honestly needing to sit on the bench and learn from Geo Baker for a year. So for Rutgers, this is big. Geo Baker, he can run the point, played a little bit at times off the ball. He showed 2 seasons ago he's a clutch shot maker. He's a big shot maker. He can hit threes, not efficient enough to really be an NBA player. Good length, good defensively. Was struggling with injuries last season, but he was still a productive piece. So for Rutgers now, heading into this upcoming season, obviously Geo Baker's going to be starting at the point. Paul Mulcahy, really kind of had a big breakout season. He's certainly very good. You can trust him. You're going to be, able to say, okay, you're going to be the 2. He can knock down shots. Maybe, one of their best shot makers just in terms of shooters. They add in Andre Hyatt out of LSU, a solid, commitment. He, I would say more than anything, might just be Ron Harper Jr. insurance in case Ron Harper Jr. doesn't return. Now, if Robert Harper Jr. does return, I would expect Hyatt goes onto the bench. But until then, we'll just leave it at that. Caleb McConnell, he is a kind of 6'7" wing 4-man. You can really with this roster, Mulcahy, Harper, Caleb McConnell, Geo Baker, you can switch a lot just defensively. I think that's going to be may need to be the calling card for this team defensively. Just being able to switch, that will be certainly big. So, for this Rutgers team, Geo Baker, Paul Mulcahy, Caleb McConnell will certainly start. And then obviously inside they have Cliff Omoruyi. They lost Miles Johnson. He decided to head to UCLA. He's going to play his grad transfer year there. So Cliff Omoruyi, big man, good rebounder. Dealt with a little bit of injuries, but he's someone that I think can step into Miles Johnson's role and play it pretty well. The key will be just him staying out of foul trouble. They also have some depth. Dean Reber, he's probably the backup big man. Mawad, Mog, Oscar Palmquist, you can have them come off the bench as like 8th, 9th mans. You've got Jalen Miller. We talked about him earlier, probably best suited to be like a backup point guard, not play too many minutes. But for those Rutgers team, I think obviously for them, we'll see what they can do. Maybe they add a couple more transfers here as the transfer portal really is starting to have a slight influx of names. But, for this Rutgers team, I think, if assuming Ron Harper Jr. comes back, the NCAA tournament is probably the expectation. Whether they will reach it is neither here nor there. But, I think expectations should be NCAA tournament if Ron Harper Jr. returns. If he doesn't, they're probably an NIT team. I still think there's enough pieces, and Steve Pikiell's a good enough coach that they're not going to just completely bottom out. But at the same point, without Ron Harper Jr. back in the lineup, there's just not enough talent to make the NCAA tournament. It's not a deep team. That's another issue for this Rutgers Scarlet Knights team. Uh, if injuries start to pick up, that's going to hurt. But for now, all things seem to be a go for Rutgers to potentially make it back to the NCAA tournament. Thanks again for tuning in to Making the Madness on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. And until next time, we'll be back.